And that's just like that in relationships, marriage, anything. I mean, you have to be, a half full cup that's at any time prepared to pour into the other, and vice versa. And I think that people forget that that synergy is absolutely needed. And again, I want to point out there are going to be times where you're down or you need more help than the other person, or the person is calling to check on you. But just remember, the coin will flip some days, and you will need to be that for someone else. So I think people overlook that when they ask for relationship or want to come in contact with people that can help pour them up out of whatever situation they're in. That look, you have to bring something to the table too.
3, 2, 1, roll 5.
It's time to help you unlock your greatness and be amazing.
That's it.
This is the AMAZIN Podcast. And we're featuring the amazing stories of entrepreneurs, creatives, and business owners sharing their journey to being amazing. That's right. Average to Amazing presents the AMAZIN Podcast. And now, here's your host.
Talk to him. Talk to him.
Mr. Amazing himself.
Don't move. Keep it locked.
You already know.
Henry Goss.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the AMAZIN Podcast. I'm so excited. We have another amazing guest for you. This guy, I've known for years. My frat brother, just brother in life in general. He's been crushing it, doing his thing. So I'm going to get off the mic and let him go ahead, introduce himself, and tell us a little bit about what he does.
Word, Ace, my boy, man. It's good to finally link, man. I know we've been talking about doing something for years now, man. So it's like a long time coming. But man, for those who don't know me, man, I am Henry's back. I'm his deuce.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Spring 14, man. Chuck Cathy graduated from Jackson State 2014, man. So that's kind of where our journey as brothers started. And fast forward to now, just navigating the world of corporate America and entrepreneurship, man, in a few different lanes. And, just happy to come on the show and share, whatever value and quality, for the listeners that I can, bro.
All right, man. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So take us to the start, because I know in undergrad you had like some great opportunities that afforded you to, dive straight into corporate America post-grad. Yeah. So tell us about how you navigated corporate America as, a new graduate, and then how you made that transition to start, your own enterprise.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably take it back to my sophomore year. And for me, it's very, very cliche, but, it's actually very, very factual in the real world as well, man. Your network is your net worth. So, man, I just kept hearing that advice over and over. And for what that meant for me in the college realm is to get involved and to start meeting, start networking, start creating a brand, for myself, both digitally and in real life, like I said. So I joined student government first, and just kind of got my feet wet in that realm, and being around other scholars that are involved and a part of so many different ancillary groups that touch every part of the campus. That part of it was impactful and eye-opening for me, because it showed me that I was limiting myself, as far as opportunities, like you talked about, either for while I was still in college or setting myself up to leverage those relationships post-grad. And that's really what it's about for me in the end. I know, it goes without being said, but I mean, people are always going to look out for who they like doing business with, who they have relationship with, or who they've, been in the trenches with in the past. And so, that realm led me to looking to get into entrepreneurship, but as well as internships. So that's really where I started, man. I think my first internship was with Union Pacific Railroad, man. I never forget, I spent the summer out in Omaha, Nebraska. Shout out to Omaha, man. It's a very unique place, but a huge company. Learned a lot about the railroad industry, more specifically in sales. Business management was my background. So I spent the summer out there, man, just kind of getting my feet wet. That was really my first level of exposure to corporate America, and really being able to see the day-to-day ins and outs of just dealing with people from a political level, being now a minority in a huge pond where 99% of the people don't look like me. So figuring out what brand and how I wanted to really articulate and carry myself within that realm was completely different. Although the opportunities with going to an HBCU are second to none, I will continue to preach that message to the day that I die. But it's very different from the real world. The real world is not all black. The real world is not all love, camaraderie, and fellowship, like, the environment of the HBCU breeds. So it was very different, but very impactful. And when I got back to campus, it really just shifted my mindset. So after that, fast forward into my senior year, obviously I was fortunate enough to serve as a student government association president for the university. And that was really a catalyst for my postgraduate career. That opportunity opened doors for me to get involved with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Shout out to everybody who does the hard work in the background with that, man. Such a unique, such an amazing organization. And they host an annual conference where they fly out, I think it's maybe 100 to 150 of some of the top Black scholars for HBCUs around the entire country. And it's just a networking session for almost 4 or 5 days. And then they fly in as well, Fortune 500 companies for you to network with and interview right there on site. So that was like life-changing for me experience, because now, having had the internship experience, now I kind of have my feet wet with a landscape of, all right, this is what corporate America is. This is how, what skill set that I bring to the table. Now, it's like a smorgasbord. I get to kind of pick and choose whom I want to, pitch my services to. And I was fortunate enough to interview with Microsoft corporate, got on with them. And after graduation, I moved to Fargo, North Dakota, man. It's even funny saying that, man. I don't know if y'all remember me being out there, but stayed out there, bro, for a little over 2 years, man. That experience was unique within itself as well. I mean, I don't know how many of the listeners ever been to Fargo. I don't recommend it, by the way, but shout out to everybody that is there. It's it's one of them places, man, that's really desolate. If you're not from there, it's like a weird culture shock. Obviously, again, coming from an HBCU background, I knew the corporate world wasn't all Black, but that was like just an environmental like shock for me. But it came with its values, man. Microsoft is a Fortune 20 company. Obviously, from their history and past and what they do on the technology side. So started in their sales department. And again, it's all about relationships. So I just leveraged a lot of the people I met, while I was there, to be able to get promotions or, make connections and relationships that will pay dividends, later on in life. And some of the people I actually still contact and connect with today. I have a guy that I met there. Shout out to Ken. His name is Ken Johnson, that I do work with here locally in Dallas, and him and I met at Microsoft in Fargo. And so again, man, it's just invaluable to take those opportunities and, really maximize them and make them as great as you want them to be. I think that's key. In every situation, in every environment you find yourself in, bro, there's pros, there's cons, there's positives, there's negatives, there's ups, there's downs, there's successes, there's failures. But I think the important part within that is to realize, to be able to find whatever opportunities in the midst of turmoil or a job opportunity, find some opportunity that you can leverage to your benefit. And not in a selfish way, but you always have to be looking for the next move or, a springboard for yourself, because you don't know what doors will, be presented to you. And if you're not ready to walk through them, either by, a lack of exposure or, a lack of a relationship, or from simply just not asking, for mentorship in an area, you pigeonhole yourself really. So fast forward to now, man, located in Dallas, Texas, been here for 4 years. And I'm in management right now with a financial company and doing the entrepreneurship thing, bro. So I said all that to say I've got every job and every promotion due to relationship. And I learned those valuable lessons, in the college environment, and just continue to leverage them, continue to network, and continue to grow, my assets, my digital, physical, mental, and people skills to be able to, springboard myself into opportunities where I can one day work fully for myself. And, hopefully the end goal of all that is to create generational wealth. So, yep.
Man, you hit it on the head, man. And it's funny because there's so many different ways we could take this. We could down to like, I mean, you touched on it, just the importance of networking and understanding the importance of seizing your opportunity in the moment of the opportunity. Because we know that every opportunity has, a time window. And it's like that cliche saying, like, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So as long as, you understand your strengths and you capitalize on that and you just stay ready, then you'll be able to handle you'll not only be able to handle the opportunity, but you'll excel at it, because that's how you truly can maximize it, when you excel.
It's a fact, bro. That's a fact.
All right, so let's talk CJC. I remember like the first time I saw you post like that first picture just advertising your business, I was like, wait, what? Like Chuck and trucks? Like what? Like what? Like, so tell us, man, how did you get, like, well, first off, what even inspired you to jump into that industry?
Well, I'll start off. Let me give y'all the backstory to CJC first. So I got to give all credit, all respects to my father, man. He's been a visionary and patriarch for our family, and he's a long-term insurance agent by trade. And he learned from one of his colleagues, again, in his network that he continued to, build relationship with over the corporate years. Told him about government contracting, probably about 6, 7 years ago now, and completely foreign, had never heard of it. And so he just came back to us like, hey, we need to look and research this industry. And at first, I'm just like, government contracting, like, bro, I'm not trying to go work for the government. Like, what is this? I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. I'm trying to, be on my own boss. And he's just like, nah, dude, like, we really need to look into this. This could be a big play for our entire family. So I'm like, okay, cool, bet. And so over the last 3 years, man, we've really just been diving into what all that encompasses. It's so many different industry funnels and channels that you can go down. But basically, in a nutshell, the federal government regulates that any federal, city, state, or local contracts, so that can be construction, that can be office building space, that can be providing goods and services, that could be catastrophe relief through like FEMA, anything that is federally regulated as far as city, state, and local contracts, they have to put out what is called a bid for proposal. And what minority or prime contractors can do that are licensed by the federal government, you have to go and get registered through a process through SAMS.gov. I can kind of send you some stuff to put in the show notes for people if they want to look into it. But once you get licensed, and once you have all the regulatory construction to call yourself a government entity, you can then bid on those contracts and fulfill whatever services, jobs, goods that they are looking for from vendors. And so a part of that world is 50 years ago, whenever we came to the table like, hey, we're getting blocked from these contracts because obviously we're not in higher government. We just had our first Black president, in the 300-400 years of this country, 5 short years ago. So, we don't have the exposure or network in that realm to get access to these contracts. So now they regulate that every single contract that comes out, it had 8 to 12% of that has to be fulfilled by a minority vendor. And so that's where CJC comes into play, where we can attach ourselves either to a prime contractor that has a contract and we're the minority piece of that, or we can solely go within ourselves and bid on contracts and win. And there's a lot of, inner information that I'm kind of skipping over, but that's basically the gist of it. And so me and my pops, we ran with it, man. Again, I give him all credit as the visionary for that. And we just tried to find our niche, something that we specifically can call ourselves experts in. We started with a bunch of different fields that actually failed, man. We tried to get into office furniture, construction, which is very, very expensive. We tried to get into contracts with FEMA, where we were supplying materials for catastrophe or disaster relief when natural disasters happen. And basically what we were doing is, you buy low, sell high. So let's say the federal government puts out a contract, they're opening up a new city hall in Jackson, and they need 100 cubicles. They need 2,000 chairs, and they need, 1,000 staples. I mean, it can even be simple stuff like that. Like there's nothing too big, too small. As long as it's coming from the state, federal government, it's a government contract. Um, and so you can either go and find a wholesaler that you can get those products from, and then you mark it up maybe anywhere from 10 to 33%. And you say, hey, government, this is our price. You submit your bid and you go through an interview process. They select you or not, and you fulfill the services. So that's basically what we do. And right now we've gotten into the trucking and transportation game, which is basically going to be our niche, where we bid on contracts to move freight for the federal government as a minority vendor contractor. Right now we have 4 trucks on the road, and have a partner that we're working with on the back end as far as our logistics, dispatching, and shipment of those materials, as far as like hiring drivers, etc. So, again, and that's a partnership from just relationships that we leveraged over the years. And so that's really our end goal, man. And again, I want to really just highlight, you probably have so much stuff in your home from a school perspective, a lot of that stuff are government contracts. And I think from a consumer, we're not taught to really view opportunities in like sales and consumerism that way. We just are taught to go to Target, go to Walmart, we buy something, it's a direct B2B. But a lot of that stuff, when you talk about the enterprise and setup of business, they have to give companies the chance to make money as well on the back end. So that's kind of the niche and the area that we play in. And it's a lot of politics, bro. I'll be honest. You have to get used to and get relationships with a lot of different, what we call PTAC officers, which are people who work at like SBA offices or local federal government agencies that, are the people who are actually giving those contracts out. Because on the back end of it, I won't say there's shady stuff that goes on, bro, but you know how relationships are. If I'm hiring John Smith, to come work for CJC, I interview him, and then Henry Goss walks through my door and I'm interviewing him. Who am I probably going with? Like, I'm ready.
Exactly. And it's life. It's
life. I mean, it's business, and it happens like that in the federal contracting space too. So it behooves you to go out and I call it, shaking hands and kissing babies, kind of acting like a politician, just getting to meet and know people. And hopefully, as the world comes back on, post-COVID pandemic era, we'll be able to go to more conferences and start networking in that space as well. But that's kind of like phase one of the family blueprint for us, man. We have been at it for a couple of years, and we're excited that our trucks and everything just started hitting the road, and we found a niche that we could really expose and try to run up the bag, as y'all say, man. So,
amen. First off, I gotta give credit to your pops, because that is an amazing vision to have. Because even when it comes to like transportation, like of course on social media we see, people that are in the trucking industry.
right.
I would say this is like one of the first times I've ever heard it from this perspective.
Right.
That is incredible. Shout out, man.
It's just, man, it's untapped information. I mean, it's kind of one of those things over the last 100 years where there's so many different ethnicities and backgrounds and players, obviously dominated by Caucasian white people, that have been doing this for generations. We're just now really getting hip and finding out about it because they didn't really want us to have access to it. Obviously, the federal government sets aside, contracts for us. But, for example, if they say, hey, we want 1,000 cups that need for City Hall and no minority businesses bid on it, it just goes right back to the prime, the big guys. So, it's not something they're going to broadcast and advertise daily. That's probably why most people have never heard of it. I mean, I didn't hear about it until I was in my mid-20s. So it's a reason for that, bro. It's a lot of opportunities.
Right. So I say, what do you think is one thing that holds people back? Well, let me rephrase the question. What obstacle, or now let me I can ask that a different way. How can people overcome that obstacle when it comes to like lack of information, when it comes to, something they're pursuing, whether it's, trucking, government contracting, or whatever the field may be? What's one thing, I guess specifically for you, that you think others can use when it comes to like trying to get access to that type of information?
Man, that's such a loaded question because there's so many areas that I think that are very pivotal to, you know, breaking down those initial barriers. Because once you get in, you in. And once you, you know, figure it out, it's just like anything else. It becomes second nature. For us, I would say it's taking that leap of faith to the unknown, kind of getting out of that fear of failure. And most people won't admit it. I've been through it. You know, you've been through it. Entrepreneurs, you know, anybody who's been successful or has failed, there's always that moment of hesitation where you're like, man, like starting a company that competes against Walmart like that sounds great, but you almost got to be crazy to do it. It's not really realistic, attainable. Like, oh, I can't become a millionaire. Oh, I can't become CEO of my own company. You have to shift your mindset. I won't say the word to be my pop say, but you almost got to just be, you know, hey, you got to say F it and just go for it, man. And you really just have to, number one, have a plan. You got to have a plan. You can't just go willy-nilly. But also a part of that is you can't allow yourself to be frozen, like they call it analysis paralysis, where you spending so much time learning, you spending so much time trying to psych yourself out whether or not you should go for an opportunity, man. Do your research. Obviously pray about it, you know, connect your faith and your ambition, your will, your drive. You have to really believe in it or it's not going to be successful. And then once you do that, you just got to go for it. And you got to be prepared to fail because you're going to fail. We failed for 3 years. We were trying to find, you know, what our niche would be. And, you know, there's so many other things in between that we're financing, finding capital, finding, you know, partners we can, you know, do negotiating in business with. But before all of that happens, I think I tweeted it the other day, before you can form a habit or something that becomes a regular, you know, repetition, you got to start. So I think most of us fail or we trick ourselves into not doing or taking advantage of jumping into an opportunity before it even starts. You don't even get a chance to fail because, you know, the idea of this big grandiose success or opportunity it's like it's almost unattainable to us. And I really, really think that message needs to continue to get preached within our, you know, culture because I mean, look at all the foreigners, the other minorities that have come to this company. The Irish, you know, the French, even Africans, man, they just go for it, bro. They just go for it, and they looking around at our hood. They dominate. They took it over. And of course, you know, white people, they just, you know, they born like that, and maybe they think they, you know, self-right and have access to it. And you know what? I don't fault them for that part of it because it's ingrained in them. It's taught. It's not something that, you know, most of them are innately born with that, oh, I can't do this. Like, nah, like, hey, we want to start, I don't know, a company that creates, you know, spaceships. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, family. And they go and do it. A lot of them fail it too. Don't get me wrong, but it's the mindset. And we have so many great ideas trapped or that end up, you know, in the coffin and graves with us. But we have so much talent, man. And so we just have to believe in ourselves, get the information, and fail fast, bro. Fail fast.
Man, you once again that you man, exactly. Like, cause and I know me, like I'm a witness of that, like that analysis paralysis. Like like whenever it comes to something I've ever wanted to do, like I always research because I don't believe in just doing stuff blindly. But there have been times where I get too much information and not enough action, and it's like. You can't have that if you really trying to make something happen. Like you have to get the information, learn as much as you can. Because honestly, even when you get information from like a mentor, you really learn by doing. That like that's when stuff really like it gets real cemented. And I think that's well I could edit this part out, but that's what made me like stepping outside the interview. That's what made me like rethink how I look at like college and stuff. Like even my time in JSU, because I realized y'all taught me like some good theory and stuff, but in order to be truly successful, like I need to be in the actual. Like I need to, and it's funny because I think that's why people be calling like college a scam, and college really isn't a scam because they tell you up front what you're gonna get. The product is the degree, whether
the cost of the exactly.
Right, like
you know what you're gonna get.
Exactly,
it's the norm. It's what's expected. And I tell people all the time, education and higher ed is not for everyone. And it's a traditional path. It's a safe path. I do highly recommend it. If I could do it all over again, would I probably still go to college? Absolutely. But would I start earlier in some of the stuff that I know I want to do? Yeah. I
Most
always
deaf.
kind of knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know who, when, and where. So, but I think that you have to have a plan, like I said in the beginning, to utilize leverage college for whatever it is you want to springboard yourself
Yep.
into. I mean, you want to go major and I don't know accounting, but your passion is art. I mean,
Yeah.
that's cool. I mean, if you want to use the accounting to,
Mm-hmm.
create the bag for yourself to do whatever you want to do, cool, great, follow that. But if you know wholeheartedly, man, you don't want to sit and be an accountant. It's like you just wasted 60, 70 grand. So it's like,
And even more than that, you wasted the time.
um, but I think during the process, one thing I really committed, we committed ourselves to doing is to not measuring ourselves by getting to the finish line or participating or finally we figured it out and we're here at the door, but we need to measure ourselves by the actual results. We started the business. Oh man, that's great. We're gonna celebrate. Definitely give yourself your roses, but we need to make sure we follow this thing and see this thing through because ultimately it's not for us. I just told my pops last night, my number one life goal is to be on my deathbed and I'm able in my will, verbally, whatever, to pass down legacy, to pass down generational wealth, something with my family's name on it that my grandchildren, my kids, whomever, they can do whatever they want with it. You know what I mean? Hey, if it's worth millions, billions, or whatever, and y'all want to sell it, great. If y'all want to continue to run a bag up, great. But something that we own. And so I think that that's what I continually remind myself during the failures, during the times where I don't want to log on and do some work after I done finished the 9 to 5, or I don't feel like getting into the weeds of it today and calling 100 people trying to figure out an answer to a question I have, or if I just get lazy, man. I think it's innate that we all have moments where we just want to chill, or go out and do other fun stuff, like you said, be a part of society. But I think reminding myself of that. I mean, I got sticky notes and stuff on my whiteboard. Everything in here is to give me some type of motivation and reminder of why I'm doing this. And so the first opportunity we landed, man, when was this? So what's this, 2021? This was last year. And so again, going back to remember what I said, we founded in 2017. My pops, yeah, 2017. So 1, 2, 3 years, 3.5 years before we actually made any money. Think about that. I think people don't understand the impact of that. We give up so soon. We give up so soon and so quick when the test and all the trials that you go through. They're just preparing you, man. Walmart didn't come an overnight success. Walt Disney started in the garage. Jeff Bezos started in the garage. In fact, I could go on and on about all the top, industry leaders that people kind of idolize. Like everybody's failed, and so I want to make that crystal clear. Like you're gonna fail, whatever it is. Nobody's 100% right 100% of the time. And so going through our first deal, that was kind of our fire and trial period. Those first couple of years where it's just like, man, we wanted to give up plenty of times through that process. It's like, man, we spinning our wheels like it's another 6 months gone, or it's another week gone, and we ain't got the meter hasn't moved at all. But continuing to remind yourself through the entire process, I think is extremely vital, extremely important. And what ended up happening, long story short, I realized that there was an SBA office really very close to my house out here in Dallas. And I remember, like it was yesterday, right before the pandemic hit and everything got shut down, I went in and set up a meeting and made a connection with a guy, Chris. Ended up being a brother. Told him what we do. Conferenced my pops in. We had a meeting over the phone. He heard our story and he literally dove in with us and wanted to help. And so again, the power of relationship. He took us from point A to point Z and now introduced us to our first plug, is what I call him, a contact or a partner who's a bigger contractor that we can now come in as the minority vendor with on contracts, and that relationship just bloomed into opportunity. And so again, you have to act. You got to break the door down. I mean, I could have just drove past and been like, I go in there tomorrow, but it's just like, man, I see it. I'm going here today. And I've met a lot of the wrong people along the way, but I just kept asking for the right people, and eventually I got there. And so that was kind of the story and the trial. And fast forward to what we're doing now with trucking, which is kind of the main play for us. Man, it's crazy every time I think about it. A guy, old guy from my church, DM'd me on Instagram and was just checking in on me. This is like over a year ago. And we were chit-chatting, small talk back and forth. He's like, where you at now? And I was like, man, I'm in Dallas, woo woo. And he was asking, like, hey, what do you all do? And I never replied to him after that. And so about a few months after that, this is last year, we exchanged numbers. And I'm like, man, bro, my bad, I just saw this and we got to connect. Exchange numbers, still didn't end up connecting. Fast forward to the end of last year, the end of November, beginning of December. He DM'd me again for something. He commented on the story. Oh, I had posted a pic and I had no socks on with my dress shoes and with my wedding video. And he was like, man, that's what the younger generation do. Y'all don't wear church socks no more. So just laughing. And I ended up going on his page and seeing that he was a trucking business owner. So I'm like, okay, I had just heard a pod. I was like, hey, bro, what do you do? Set up a meeting. And he was like, hey, bro, I'm actually looking to partner with some people to bring people into this industry. And the light bulb just went off, man. And long story short, fast forward to now, we got 4 trucks. Like,
that is insane.
Yep.
But hey, God's timing is perfect because
perfect, bro.
It ain't no telling. Like the first 2 times that y'all were trying to link, it may not have been just right for whatever reason it is, and but that is insane.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. We laugh about it when we think about how it happened. Because if you would have asked me a year ago, would I be in trucking, I probably would have looked at you crazy. Like, no, bro, I don't want to own no trucks. I don't want to drive them. I don't want to be like, that's just not what I do. God works in mysterious ways, like you said, man. And it's just all a blessing and his timing. Because who knows, a year or 2, 3 or 4, I wouldn't have been ready to run and operate that type of business on that level or being irresponsible with the capital. Like, there's just so many ways that he makes sure that you're seasoned. Because also, too, this is just another small gem. You can ask God for a whole lot, and sometimes eventually he'll give it to you, and you fall flat on your face. And that's not, him giving you a blessing that, was bad. It's giving you something you weren't prepared for. And so just a lot of my prayer life this last year, specifically during the pandemic, like I've been asking God, like, hey, bless me with this, but if it's going to be bad, don't give it to me. Or God, open this door for me and this opportunity. If it's going to be fruitful, please give it to me. If not, slam the door, remove these people. Like, that's been like a consistent thought on my mind that I've meditated on. Because if you're not ready for certain blessings, man, you could really miss out. And once you burn the bridge, it's almost no coming back a lot of the times, man. So I'm glad that everything has happened the way that it has happened. And I think it's prepared us to continue to do more, bro.
Facts. So just to touch back on relationships and building relationships and everything that encompasses, what do you think is one thing people underestimate about the initial process of when you starting to build a relationship with someone, whether it's like business or personal or whatever? Like, what's one thing people underestimate?
Man, make me want a bag now, but I think people sometimes when they're looking for help or they're looking for someone to provide them with some type of information, they neglect the part that relationship means dual. It has to be in some way, shape, or form. It may not be equally on the level, but you have to at some point be able to pour into that person as well. Or you have to be a mutually beneficial contact in their network as well. So again, it doesn't have to be the same level of magnitude. It could even be just from the standpoint that they know that you're seriously committed and ready for whatever you're asking help for. And so I think people sometimes approach relationships, people in the business, corporate, and real world and it's not a mutually beneficial relationship. They're just looking to gimme, or take. And that's not how fruitful relationships work. That's not how, relationships blossom to, the like I said, the multi-million and billion-dollar level. Like, that's just not, the partners that Bill Gates, started Microsoft with, like, they all played a pivotal role. It wasn't just like one guy and the other three did nothing. Like, nah, like it wouldn't have been what it was had it not all played to their strengths and been able to bring something to the table. And that's just like that in relationships, marriage, anything. You have to be, a half full cup that's at any time prepared to pour into the other, and vice versa. And I think that people forget that, that synergy is absolutely needed. And I want to point out, there are going to be times where you're down or you need more help than the other person, or the person is calling to check on you. But just remember, the coin will flip some days, and you will need to be that for someone else. So I think people overlook that when they, ask for, relationship or want to come in contact with people that can help pour them up out of whatever situation they're in. That, look, you have to bring something to the table too.
First off, Chuck, I want to thank you for stopping by the Amazing Podcast, dropping those gems. Everyone, make sure you connect with Chuck. All his information is going to be in the show notes. But before you go, I have to ask you the question that I ask every guest. And my question is, what makes you amazing?
Man, what makes me amazing, bro? It's all credit, all honor to the people that have helped me grow my network. Like I keep going back to that, but it is what it is. I would not be where I am or on the path that I am, because I'm not where I want to be yet. But I wouldn't be where I am and on this trajectory had I not, had the fortune to, meet great people along the way that have given me the game, that I'm continuing to learn the game from, that have been fortunate enough to be honest and walk me through their failures and misfortunes so that I can miss some of those steps along the way. So, just shout out to, people like my father, my grandfather, my people in my family, even my peers, man. You, Jason, we all of our line brothers are doing something big and bad. So, seeing you guys on a daily basis, that motivates me, man. And it keeps me going. And, that's what makes me amazing, that I'm able to tap into networks like that can provide value, and I can in return, do the favor when called upon. So appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the AMAZIN Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and follow us on all social media at the AMAZIN Podcast. We'll see you here next time.